Idology is excited to welcome Elise Testone to the house.
Thanks for having me.
You also had sort of a great endorsement from Stevie Nicks.
If I needed a singer, I'd hire in a second.
Yeah. And I loved The Edge of 17, like the tiny snippet of it that we got.
Like a strand in the wind, in the web that is my home, I begin again.
You're a contestant who really excelled in a lot of those group performances.
I want to be someone who can hold the group together. You know, I guess knowing that I'm older, I felt responsible for everyone, and as a vocal coach too. I know how the parts sound and what's missing. I will make sure I kind of like guide everyone subtly when we do those things. I don't know if that makes sense. Everyone hasn't always done things like that. I've done so many like group projects, or I used to be in this class in college called Pop 101, and I'd done it for 7 semesters. And it's basically like you're in a rock and roll band with 6 singers and then a full band, and you just do rock and roll music. When we do the group song, I felt confidence because it was a familiar territory.
On I Want to Know What Love Is, one moment I wanted to go back to you on is results night, when you had talked a little bit about...
The more into it sometimes I get, it's harder for me to like stay in the lines.
I think it reverted back to something you said during the top 25 announcement.
It's more than the notes and whether it's perfectly in tune. I'm trying to convey every emotion that I have.
But that performance, looking back, do you have any wishes about things you could have done differently with it?
I feel like when I sang that song, I did everything I intended to do. Any performance I've done, I don't ever think it was perfect. Whole Lotta Love, everybody loved it. I don't think it was perfect. I mean, I'm my toughest critic. But when I look back at it, I feel like I achieved exactly what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to be sincere, and I wanted to build it, and I wanted to bring it down, and and I just wanted to put my heart out there, and that's exactly what I did. So when they say,
not sure if that song was the right song for you tonight, baby.
Take it with a grain of salt, take what I can out of the critique, and just move on.
How much do you watch back your performances?
I do a couple of times, but I don't want to overdo it.
Right.
I definitely do just so I can learn from it, and then I move on. And I try not to read anything anybody writes. Good or bad,
Yeah.
Even the good, sometimes you don't want to read too much of that either.
Yeah.
You don't want to get stuck.
Top 7 redo week, you had No One, which I thought was another really great moment for you on the show.
Thanks. I like the fan.
It never hurts to have a fan.
No.
Blowing back in a flowy dress.
I don't worry, 'cause everything's gonna be alright.
I always really loved Alicia Keys. I feel like she's a very strong female vocalist. I have always sung Fallen, but again, Haley Reinhart did that song, so I was like, oh well, because I had already sang You and I that she sang too.
Yeah.
It tastes like whiskey when you kiss me. Oh, I give anything again to be your baby doll.
Yeah. I learned all these things after the fact, but I stayed away from Fallen. I used to sing If I Ain't Got You in a group in the Pop 101 I was talking about in college. And I just really wanted to do an Alicia Keys song, so I chose that one. I loved the lyrics at the time. It was perfect because she says, no one...
Get in the way of what I'm feeling.
And then it's like, how can you change something so real? And I just felt like it was just symbolic to my whole journey, But then when it started off, my dog was sick, so then the lyrics kind of fit with that. I love R&B, I love soul, I love jazz, and I feel like those elements are captured in her music. A little bit of hip hop. It's got all those flavors. And that's a huge genre of music that I've sung for a long time. Not just rock. I mean, the rock stuff I've done more so the last 5 years, but before that it was always blues, jazz, soul.
Which makes sense because you're a little hard to pinpoint. You sort of did a few different types of things well, and I think that sometimes confuses the audience.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think it makes it more comforting for people to be able to pinpoint someone? Or do you think it doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters, at least in terms of Idol, which I think is different from the rest of music listening. I like to see people take chances and try something different.
Yeah, and I think with the industry, it's a really big point to be pinpointed, to choose a genre, and and that's like probably more of the business side of things.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've always had a hard time with different opportunities in the past, because I wasn't ready to be someone who could be pinpointed, but I do think I'm strongest at the rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I think I can still incorporate those elements of music.
Oh, people, do you hear me? Just give me a sign.
If I were to go there every week and do a rock song, it might get stale. So I wanted to show all the flavors of my past experiences and being in different bands and what I can really do. My musician friends were like, you have to pick something. If you're gonna make an album, it can't be one song's jazz, one song's theater, one song's rock. You have to stay in one vein. And that does make sense because the album is like a story and you want the story to flow.
Right.
So the show definitely helped me see how people respond to things. It's the best way to learn about that. I mean, judging is good for something.
Exactly. Well, speaking of judging, I thought it was interesting the week that you got asked.
Do you think that Jimmy or the judges are harder on you than anyone else.
I always wince a little because you never know how that's gonna play.
Yeah.
But I will say, no one else was asked about.
It's like when you went to cry earlier and you were like, oh, no, I'm not gonna cry about my dog.
And then saying like, people want to know you're a real person. Did that sting?
They want to know that you feel things, that you're a person, that these songs mean something to you.
I couldn't wrap my brain around those comments. I really couldn't, because if I've gotten like one compliment the most my entire life, it's always been about being a real person and always showing emotion when I sing.
Yeah.
More so than technique. And I've been technically trained, and sometimes I even forget all about it because I'm so into what I'm singing. I'm sorry, I'm talking with my hand. More so, you know, I'm emotional than technique, and I've always been that way. So when she said that after all the other stuff, you know, in the weeks before and all the bottom three, I was just like, you know, that was just crossing the line a little bit.
You know what I mean?
I do that.
You do, but you do.
Heard
but
that
I
before.
Are you still thinking like, I've got a shot to win this, or are you just like, let me go out and do what I want to do and see how far I get?
There was two schools of thought. One was, yes, I want to win this because I want the title, I want the responsibility of being an idol, you know, on the biggest level I can. And the second was, you know what, at this point we're all successful. I have no idea what's going to happen. I only want to use this time valuably, do exactly what I love and show people that, so that way I don't have any regrets. At the end of the day, I know that I sing with conviction and passion, and I will reach those who I want to reach, because that's the only person I'm going to be when this is over.
That probably plays a little bit into the Jimi Hendrix cover, which was actually really different from the original. You took a lot of liberties with the melody and did some interesting things with it.
Jimi Hendrix has been a huge, you know, turning point in music. He just has that presence, that huge presence, and he was so mature at a young age. I feel like I relate to that generation of music a lot, or at least I want to. And when I was reading about the lyrics, you know, he was talking about the world being on an axis, and if the axis was ever shifted, then everything in the world would in turn change.
The access.
So he's going through the story and he's painting the picture of each scene, you know, like blue are the life-giving waters.
Taken for granted, that quietly understand.
Talking about the ocean. And, you know, he's a guitar player and he's saying, and I'm a singer who tries to play guitar, but I didn't on that song, no way.
You weren't gonna go there.
No, I wasn't ever gonna go there, I never will. But I just wanted to bring those lyrics to life, and they're just so poetic, and I just wanted to paint the story, and I loved every second of it, I just wouldn't take it back.
One of the funniest moments of the season was when Steven was like, you gotta pick songs people know better, and you were like,
I thought everybody knew that song.
It's not like a melody that you can sing along with, and I
Yeah.
think that's more what he meant.
Right.
But John Mayer just released that song.
Right.
So I figure, oh, everyone loves John Mayer, like of this generation, so it'll just work out, you know. But I was also, I don't want to just try to think like, what was my marketing, trick to try to like win the votes and stuff, you know. Right. I'm gonna do me, and if that doesn't keep me here longer, then that's okay, and if it does, that's awesome.
so what's next for you? I mean, how do you navigate, you know, a major label system that is not always super friendly to someone who's 28?
I'm really confident it's gonna work out the way it's supposed to. I know the direction I want to go in. I have some plans and some ideas, and I know it's gonna work out because I just believe in myself very strongly. I know that there's someone else there that believes as well, and we'll work as a team. I don't know exactly the details of pinpointing this person, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.